It goes in detail over the plan that we've prepared. Kind of gives you a little feedback, a little deeper dive, if you will, into the overall plan. So if the committee would choose to hear that, I'll turn it over to Pat at this point in time.
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. As Game Division Administrator Brian mentioned, I have about 60-slide PowerPoint presentation. I'm happy to give that, or I'm happy to answer any questions about fiscal year 2020 draft predator management plan.
I'd say just ask questions if we've got them.
What's that?
I would be more in favor of just asking questions if we've got them. I went over the plan and the report, so I don't have a lot of questions.
Is there anybody at Sparks that has any questions over the plan?
None to your feet. None to your feet.
Wow, this is going faster than expected. Does the commission have, or does the Department of Wildlife have any questions, or want to add comments, or maybe have Mark Jensen relay what some of the stuff that's been done, just for the record, so we know what's going on?
Sir, for some reason, we cannot hear you. Whatever you turn down, Pete, can you turn it up a little?
You want volume up?
I can't hear you for some reason. This is on, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're not muted. We're not muted here, I don't know what.
One of those that you turned down actually turned our volume down.
Is that better?
No, still can't.
Is their speaker that telephone put it back up?
This one have a volume?
There's nothing here, Doug, that they turned down.
That's getting louder there.
Is it just me that's louder, or is it everybody?
Yeah, maybe just you, Jake.
How about now, can you hear us better?
Not really, maybe you could just speak up, sorry.
Somebody moved the loudspeaker or something.
They're in the ceiling.
I turned our volume down a little bit.
Or on the table.
I just made a comment that, maybe, Department of Wildlife would like to
There we go.
let us know some of the projects that they've completed and how they've done.
Okay.
Staff Specialist Pat Jackson for the record. So just a really brief update on projects. If everybody wants to turn to page 35 of the Predator Plan, at least that's page 35 in the version of the Predator Plan I have. Looking at the handout for the meeting, it's also 35. Just to quickly run through that, this is largely the same plan as last year. Project 21 is common raven removal to protect greater sage grouse. That project is largely a success, a collaboration with Wildlife Services, and there's no change. Project 2102, no change fiscally. That's a project with raven removal in the Virginia mountains to measure the effect at a very fine scale. It's a collaboration with Wildlife Services and the U.S. Geological Survey lab out of Dixon, California. No change. Project 2201, mountain lion removal for California bighorn protection in Unit 01. There's no fiscal change. We're seeing some nice success with that project in a slowly establishing and growing bighorn sheep population. Project 22074 is largely a sheep monitoring project now. The area biologists feel that lion predation is not a limiting factor. We did lower the budget on that just a little bit and have the ability to go in quickly and remove a lion should bighorn sheep be consumed, but the last several years that has not been an issue. Project 37, Big Game Protection Mountain Lions, allows us, the department, to remove mountain lions throughout the state should they pose a threat to big game species. This is a really great project. It allows us to respond quickly when conditions change, either very arid, very wet, etc. This has a $25,000 increase from last year. Project 38, the removal of big game protection coyotes, similar to Project 37, allows us to remove coyotes quickly. We added $25,000 to that project. Project 3, coyote removal to complement multifaceted management in Eureka County. No change fiscally. We're seeing, according to the area game biologist, some increases in the fawn to adult female ratios in, in Unit 144. And we've also added the change where we are now actively removing coyotes and mountain lions. We radio marked about 10 doe deer in the diamonds, and if I remember correctly, about 6 so far have been killed and consumed by mountain lions. Project 41, increasing understanding of common raven densities and space use in the state. This is a collaboration with the U.S. Geological Survey. Come up with some accurate raven estimates, as well as deploy GPS backpack transmitters and look at subsidy and space use. No changes to the project. We did remove $100,000 total from that. This is the first project I've mentioned that's a non-lethal project, so qualifies for Pittman-Robertson funding. Project 42, mountain lion harvest in Nevada. This is to build an integrated population model or to inform the department the types of data we still need to collect so that we can. Integrated population models are one of the up-and-coming types of models that can be built using various types of data available to the state. Harvest data, sex and age structure, GPS data to determine home range, etc. No change to that. That's taken a while to get some collaborations on board, and we now have those agreements in place. Project 43, mesopredator removal to protect waterfowl, turkeys, and pheasants on wildlife management areas. No change to this project. Speaking with area managers, they're really happy with the work that Wildlife Services is doing, primarily removing raccoons and coyotes to protect waterfowl. In fact, I had somebody check in just last week to make sure that this was still a go. They've seen a really great increase in clutch and nest success. Project 44, lethal removal and monitoring of mountain lions in Area 24. We added $25,000 to this project. For the last upwards of 2 decades, the department has had a struggling bighorn sheep population in Area 24, primarily the Delamars, and we are actively GPS marking mountain lions and visiting their kill sites. And any mountain lion that is eating bighorn sheep is quickly removed. As a side note, it's been very impressive at the number of feral horses that the local mountain lion population is focused on. And Project 45, the passive survey estimate of black bears in Nevada. This allows us, the department, to accurately estimate our black bear population without needing to physically trap bears. We are also currently engaged in a physical mark recapture, time consuming. Anytime you trap bears, you can have things go wrong. So this is just another way for us to look at our recolonizing black bear population. And no huge changes fiscally. It's a little bit of a challenge managing the budget because since I've been here, we've had big game and turkey application numbers go up. So over the last 4 years, revenues for the $3 fee have averaged increased, I think, $26,000 a year. So working to meet the 80% lethal mandate and then also spend down what we have as a reserve. That's all I have. So if you look at the second table under expected revenues and beginning balance of the predator fee, you can see the fiscal year 2019 estimate is $398,268. that should have been accurately carried to 400, instead it's 412, 582,000. This has actually been fixed for draft 2 of the Predatory Management Plan. Those are really some of the only subtle changes between draft 1 and draft 2, but just to let you know that's being captured in future drafts.
So why are these numbers continually dropping? Is there less applications for licenses, or what's going on?
No, sorry, Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. If you look at line 2, revenues, under the expected revenues and beginning balances, we are seeing an increase, and I don't have the old data, so the most recent year that we have accurate numbers for is $677,000, but if you look back to years prior, every year prior it drops about $26,000. So we actually, every year, are getting more and more money, not less and less.
And so you're spending more on projects then?
We are attempting to, as you can see, that ending balance is $335,000. It's the department's desire to maintain a balance of somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 in that for rainy days, so to speak. So there is a slight increase in spending from this last plan that we're currently following to this one, but I wouldn't say that there's been a dramatic increase. So the primary increase would be under projects 37 and 38, an additional $50,000 for lethal removal of lions and coyotes, and then project 44 moved from 50 to 75,000 for monitoring and lethal removal of lions.
Okay. One more question. Can you give us some of your success stories, or would you have Mark Jensen report on some of that, or let us know some of the stuff that's been done and how it's worked?
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. Mark, you feel free to tell a story, and I'll let me pull up the Predator report on my computer to try to come up with something that sounds good.
Hi, Jason.
I would like you to.
I'll just stand here behind the committee, Pat, while you're looking at that. And again, just to say again what Brian had said, the committee is currently reviewing the proposed draft 2020 plan. We're currently working on the 2019 plan, which is ongoing. And those projects are ongoing, and those are the projects that we're currently working on. All of those projects are up and running. I don't see any problems with us fulfilling what we've been asked by NDOW to do as part of the 2019 plan. So again, those projects are going on for protecting deer. Here pretty soon we're going to start doing raven removals to protect sage grouse. So the 2019 plan is in full swing. And we're fully staffed. We have helicopters, airplanes. We don't see any problems with that. Also, to remind the committee, there is a report, and because we are in currently the 2019 plan, and the 2020 plan is in draft, obviously, the latest report is from the fiscal year 2018. Is that right, Pat and Brian?
Yeah, that's correct.
So if the committee wants to review past reports of successes and what projects have done, you have to go back to the report that came out from NDOW. It's on NDOW's website, and that will talk specifically about each project and the successes or what has been done for those projects. Obviously, there won't be a report for the 2019 right now because we're still doing the work. But I guess my report to the committee is that obviously we enter into an agreement with NDOW to do this work every year. We're part of the plan, and we meet regularly with Brian and with Pat, and I don't see any issues in us fulfilling the requests and our obligations to the Department of Wildlife.
Okay, that makes it. Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Cody?
My biggest concern is with project 2274. Almost since its inception, write-in justification, every year except for one, the biologist has put in there, it is the area biologist's belief that lion predation is not a current threat. Yet we're funding a predation project with no justification. I talked to Kerry about it last year, and it came out again the same this year. We have no justification for this project.
You guys have any response to that?
Yeah, just 1 second, let me make sure that I have that up. Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. So working with Kerry Hubner and previously Scott Roberts and now Tyler Knoll, we created Table 2, which is on page 16. This is a small bighorn sheep population. It is isolated. I don't know the ins and outs of some disease challenges, but I do understand that there are some. They felt that anything over 15 was a sound population, and so we would move to the phase of monitored bighorn sheep populations and conduct lion removal on a case-by-case basis. I believe it was 2 fiscal years ago, at the direction of the commission, they desired to see in the plans an evolution of these projects, if you will, so that instead of staying the same indefinitely, that we'd either ramp them up or throttle them back, depending upon the population of concern. And Brian, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're now re-offering a sheep tag in that area? I heard the conversation. I don't know if we are.
If my memory serves, Brian Wakeling, record, if memory serves, we do have a season for a ram within this area. The intent would be with this project that kind of to elaborate a little bit on what Mr. Jackson mentioned earlier, if we have a particular area where we are managing for either coyote removal or for lion removal to protect big game, and we wind up doing that in multiple years under the big game protection, kind of the blanket, the umbrella plan, the commission has asked us to develop a separate project for that. And so once that's developed, then we may exercise a removal or may not exercise a removal within a given year based on the demographics of that particular herd and their interaction with mountain lions or coyotes. And so this project evolved because we had been conducting some removals in there. And so largely we're keeping it on the books so that we can exercise a removal if necessary, but the whole aspect and plan of the project is only to use it in the event that we actually need to. And Mr. Jackson, I don't know if you have anything.
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. I'll dust off a term from graduate school. Environmental stochasticity refers to unpredictable spatio-temporal fluctuation in environmental conditions. The term is often used in the literature on ecology and evolution. Unpredictability is defined as an inability to predict the future state precisely. such as that only its distribution can be known. This is a small population, and if mountain lions did warrant a threat, we want to be able to respond promptly and quickly, since one mountain lion could substantially impact that population in short order. But on the other side, we have downgraded the fiscal size of this project and allocated those funds elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make another comment?
One more comment, Walt, go ahead.
This project was started in 15. Since 15, there's been 2 lions killed, or 2 sheep killed, one in 15 and one in 18. There's been 3 lions removed, and that was in 15. Wildlife Services went in and removed 3 lions in 15. There hasn't been a lion removed under this project since 15. We're under the scrutiny of people that don't like our predator plans, and this plan, in my opinion, this plan opens us up to all kinds of scrutiny that we don't need. We've got a lion project where we can go in and remove them if we have to on a short-term notice. I would rather see this money taken and put in that because it is more justifiable.
Okay, do we have any other comments?
Pete, one more thing I can comment on. And just to remind the committee on these projects, the way they're set up, again, for the Wildlife Services part of this, these projects are reimbursable. So again, if a project is set up and there's an amount of money budgeted for it, if that money is not spent, obviously, it just rolls over in the NDOW account. So it's not like the money is lost or anything. It's just that that's the way they set it up. But the money is not lost. It's not spent. It's still there. It rolls over. But anyway, just to explain that. So.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Wakely with Nevada Department of Wildlife. Mark, thanks for clarifying that. Sometimes we tend to get real used to giving the presentation and not mentioning some of those things, but you're absolutely correct. Unless the way all of these projects and all of these funds are set up, we don't lose anything if we have a project and we don't spend any money on it in that given year. This money is not subject to any loss in any way, shape, or form. If we have a project on the books, we don't invest any money in it that year, we do not lose that money. That money isn't reverted to any other fund. It's there and available for subsequent years. And the relationship we have with Wildlife Services, we develop a financial plan each year that addresses all of these, and they do the work first and then they bill us for it. So we're not even transferring money to Wildlife Services until subsequent to their activities. And we work the same way with any of our contractors.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I have one other question about maybe adding projects to the list. I know there's several areas. One of them I hear a lot of complaints about is in the O'Callahan mountain range. People complaining about the deer herd dwindling there. Why could we not add some of these projects in those areas like the one they have in the Diamonds? What does it take to get something like that rolling? Project in the Diamond Mountains is the deer herds are coming back very strong. Everybody's happy with that project, and I don't know why one of the particular areas I know of is the O'Callahan mountain range out of Austin. That people are constantly complaining about not having any deer left in those mountains.
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. You more than welcome to make that recommendation. I'm happy to reach out. The old biologist, Jeremy, has moved on to a habitat job, and they're currently filling that position. I'm happy to go back and review data and take a look at that, and I can speak to other Eastern Region biologists about what their perceptions are of benefiting the local deer population.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Brian Wakeling again for the record. Apologize if there's some pauses on this end when some questions are being asked. Pat's trying to capture comments and just recommendations that we're hearing as we're going along. Part of this process, we'll be going back to our to the Wildlife Damage Management Committee on March 14th. And one of the things that helps us tremendously, while we try to capture your comments, your questions, the intent of what you're trying to do, thing that really helps us is if we can receive kind of a written recommendation, and the park's been real good about providing that each year, but if we can get that in advance of the Wildlife Damage Management Committee meeting, it's really helpful.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? None in Sparks either? Okay, well, I guess that moves us to the scheduling of the next meeting. Myself, I would like to see these meetings moved up. This is not a good time of year to have this meeting. I don't know what we have to do to get it straightened out, but we need to be having this meeting at an earlier date or a later date. And I understand we don't want it at a later date because you have to present it someplace, but the quicker we get you guys' report and the quicker we can get a meeting scheduled to get this taken care of, will definitely maybe improve. We have two ranchers that's on this committee that's not here today either. Had I not been the chairman, I probably would not have been here either. This is just it's a tough time of the year to be having a meeting.
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. I always present this plan for the first time at the January Commission meeting, and in my opinion, it would be appropriate to have the meeting any time after that January Commission meeting. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's consistent.
Well, if we could get the, I'm not sure where it goes, but if we could get that right after you present it to the Wildlife Commission, so we can start working on making sure we get a meeting in a timely fashion.
Sure. We can coordinate the park meeting with their January meeting for next year. We can follow, we can coordinate the park meeting to follow their January 2020 meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So do we have any other questions or discussions on the meeting schedules? So do we need to back up and have an action item on them?
Yeah, an action item on A? Or action?
Yeah, I did not do that. Do we have a proposal? Do we have a motion to accept the plan that we presented here today?
I would move that we recommend the discontinue 22074 because of the way it is perceived by myself that it is unnecessary and unjustified, and put that money in the Lion project that is statewide. They ran over budget in that plan last year.
second to that.
I just want to clarify, I don't know how this item reads on, do you want to talk about specific comments in your action item, or the submission of the comments that were discussed?
I would say on the comments that were discussed.
And that's what we've done previously, Pete. I know I've taken, the comments and then put them in letter form and sent them to, Pat and Brian, so if that's what you want us to do, we can do that.
Okay, so we still need a motion to approve project, correct?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So did,
Go ahead.
Hey, was there a first in Elko, Pete? Or was it you?
Walt Gardner made it.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you. I missed it.
We had a second in Sparks, correct?
Yes.
Who made that?
Darrell.
You got that? Okay. All right, do we have a motion for the next meeting?
I would move the chairman set a meeting when and where is most appropriate.
A second on that?
I'll second.
Cody Creek has seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that puts us back to public comment on today's agenda items. Does anybody have any public comments now?
I do. Jerry Conrad, interim director, and I just wanted to take the opportunity, I know our chairman Harris knows, but I want to make sure that everyone on the committee knows that Jennifer Ott, who's here, our plant division administrator, she is our incoming director, and her first official day is Monday.
Well, welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Well, I guess that's it for our meeting.
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. A second.
I'll second.
We Creek has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody, for attending and for all your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.